Welcome to today's training on Master the Menu Phase 2. My name is Steve Giardini, and I'm a Business Process Manager with Aramark in the Global Operational Excellence Group. Joining me today is Stacy Gelman and Kim Rossiter from the Culinary Development Team. We're really excited to bring this presentation to you guys today. We're excited because this menu construct was really built just for the fresh food company, really provides you guys with a lot of flexibility that you need to be successful and meet your clients and your students' needs. It is a student-focused menu, which Stacy and Kim will talk about. It was really student-focused innovation. It provides time back to you guys in the operations to really drive innovation within your operation as well as client and guest satisfaction. So again, we're really excited to be bringing this to you guys today. We really think it will be very beneficial for you. Today we want to focus your attention on Phase 2 of the Master the Menu program. Today's goals include reviewing the Master the Menu program and helping you understand the process. We're going to provide you with information around specific service station changes and give you a preview of the changes of the menu building process you'll see in PrimaWeb via a live system demo. We're going to discuss the implementation process, the resources you can access, and the steps you need to take to ensure success. We've also allotted, as I mentioned, a generous amount of time for Q&A to make sure you feel prepared to move forward. Before we dive into the specifics of the second phase of Master the Menu, let's take a moment to go over some detail we shared in the introductory webinar concerning how we arrived at this point as a company and a center of excellence. The first phase of Master the Menu focused on developing and testing ideas that would improve our food management process. Central to Phase 1 was aligning our standards, our operating procedures, and our basic food handling approach in a way that would allow us to create a framework that focused on building consumer-driven menus, that we could utilize that framework to shrink the number of recipes we used across the company and build refined recipes that work for everyone. We've reduced the complexity of the business, especially in areas such as the number of items we bought and therefore the number of SKUs we had to manage. Phase 1 was a success, but to achieve real savings and bring the work of Phase 1 to complete fruition, we needed to roll out Phase 2, which focuses on aligning our technology, aka PrimaWeb, to mirror the new processes and standards we built in Phase 1. We want to leverage the work done in Phase 1 and see its logical conclusion, which allows for menu constructs and consistency across the organization by changing the way that PrimaWeb works and making it simpler for you guys to execute in the field. However, as we mentioned in the introductory webinar, Phase 2 isn't just about aligning PrimaWeb to our new way of managing food. While we need to align our technology to our new operating procedures, the enhancements we will go over today in PrimaWeb will prove critical in supporting our other organizational initiatives. In particular, Phase 2 of Master the Menu will ensure that both national menu labeling and our continued work around workforce productivity succeed. So keep that in mind as we go through the system later on and discuss what to expect. One key element of Phase 2 concerns your service stations, specifically promotions. This will now become a necessary task you must complete prior to the menu planning process. The menu planning job aid available on the Master the Menu page will walk you through this process, and we will walk through it in the live demo as well. The first thing you must do is go into area configuration settings to create the production department promotions, then create the service station promotions and map it back to the new production department. This station is used for theme meals and taste promotions. During the menu planning process, when you see the promotions template station, it must get mapped to the promotion service station in the system. Okay, so at this point I think you're ready to go through the changes in PrimaWeb that we're excited to bring you. I'll be providing you with a live walkthrough of the new system layout momentarily, but before I do, I want to focus your attention on a few key changes. First, you'll now see the system uses menu constructs or culinary templates. Unlike the older version of PrimaWeb, when you go to start a menu, you will now always start building a menu from a template. As you build the menu, you will see that certain template stations are now required. In order to finish planning the menu in the system, you must select these template stations. You will also see the recipe slots come in two forms, required or optional. Required slots are added to the menu, optional slots can be deactivated. Lastly, certain recipes are listed as defaults. any recipe in blue font can be swapped, and the system now presents you with a list to choose from. Okay, so now we're going to go through PrimaWeb and look at some of these changes live and talk about how you guys are going to set up your menu. All right, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, we've logged into PrimaWeb, and the first thing we want to do is what we talked about. We want to go to area configuration settings, and we want to create our service station promotions. So we'll click on the service area tab. This is a training setup, so there's lots of different locations in here. We're going to use a service area called SG Residential Menu. As you can see, there's some stations built out already. What we need to do right now is we want to add our promotion station. And we want to link it to our production department for promotions. Once we do that, we click continue. And promotions is in our list, which is great. The second thing I want to draw your attention to in this screen is I want to make sure you guys are able to have the correct service days and meal periods. So in your current service area, you want to click this pencil icon to be able to edit your meal periods and your days of the week. You want to ensure that your cycle week up top is 4 because it is a 4-week cycle menu construct. In our operation, for the purposes of this exercise, breakfast, lunch, and dinner are served Monday through Friday. On the weekends, we serve brunch and limited dinner. You want to make sure that when that brunch and limited dinner are selected where appropriate, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner are deselected in accordance with those. Be sure to utilize brunch and limited dinner on days of the week and meal periods where you limit your offerings due to decreased participation, such as weekends, which you can see is how we have this particular dining hall set up. So once we have our meal periods and days of the week all set, we'll click continue again, and we're ready to begin planning our menu. So we're going to go to the plan menu stage. As you can tell, we have no plan menu as this is a training exercise. So we'll create a new one. You see right now, as we mentioned, we only have the ability to create from a culinary cycle template. The service channel is residential. One thing I do want to be very, very specific about, you need to choose the fresh food company template if you are a fresh food company location. And that is something that you guys are going to have to be very mindful of during this process. You definitely do not want to choose the incorrect template, as it will cause you guys to have to re-plan your menu. And that is something that you definitely don't want to do. As a former operator, I can attest to that for sure. I'm going to call this menu Test 1. And as you guys are very much aware, all menus in PrimaWeb must start on a Monday. So I'm going to start mine on Monday, January 2nd, 2017. Click Next, and it'll drop us into the menu planning wizard. So there's a couple of things that I want to draw your attention to. You can see all 5 meal periods up here at the top. You do have to map stations one time for each meal period. So that includes breakfast, lunch, dinner, but also brunch and limited dinner. We'll walk through briefly how to do that in a second. The other thing I want to call your attention to is this legend up here. You can see that blue stations are required to be mapped, yellow stations are optional. And then as we get into the recipe part of it, green boxes on the recipe, that item is required. And let's go ahead and we're going to map our omelet station to our exhibition station. Mapping a station is easy as that. So now as we get into what we serve on that station, as I mentioned, green boxes are required items. That being said, you can click on the word eggs here, and it brings you up other choices for eggs. In this menu, you are required to run some sort of egg product, whether it's made to, whether it's liquid eggs or whole eggs, depends on what you run on your menu, but you are required to run one egg product. If you wish to change it, you simply click on eggs as we did and select a different egg. You can see that it changed from a green triangle up in the top to, we're going to call it orange or yellow triangle, excuse me, down in the bottom right-hand corner. If we look at our legend, we can tell that all this means is that we've replaced the recipes. Recipes that do not have a green shaded box, you have the ability to turn that off in your excuse me, you have the ability to turn that off in this Plan Wizard menu. So simply, if you do not want to run bacon pieces, for example, on your menu, you simply click the green triangle and it brings up the option to remove it from just this day, meal period, and station, or you can remove bacon pieces throughout your entire menu. So for sake of this exercise, we're going to remove bacon from the menu, and you can see that it flipped to a red triangle, which means recipes have not been selected from this culinary template. Again, if we wanted to swap out sauteed red and green peppers, we can change it. And it gives us some options here of different peppers that we can utilize on our menu. There are a lot of there's a lot of availability within these menus to add items. We know you guys deliver a high quality product, and not everything may be listed in the construct. You have the option in any of these select another item boxes to add any of these other things to this particular omelet station. I would also encourage you guys that as you move through this process to save early and save often, but please do not click finalize until you have done everything that you wanted to do to this menu. One of the great things about the Fresh Food Company menu construct is the ability to map these two regional stations to any stations in your cafe, or I'm sorry, your dining hall. You can map them to a kosher station. You can map them to any station that you may have that may not be part of this construct. My particular dining hall has a Chobani Creation station, so I'm going to map this regional station to my Chobani Creation station, and I can add all of my menu items under this station. I'm going to click save again, and I'm going to move towards dinner because there's a couple other things that I want to show you guys. So for dinner, there's a few, as we scroll down here into the optional stations, I know a lot of you guys have Mongolian stations, and there may be some other stations listed here that have an A or B designation. For those stations that have A or B, you only need to map one of them over. You probably only have one Mongolian station, so you don't need to map two. So I'm going to map this residential-Mongolian stir fry with the letter A next to it. I'm going to map that to my Mongolian station, and I'm going to leave B alone. The promotion station, you'll notice, is a required station. Again, you want to make sure you map that to your promotion station. And same thing with your taste station. Also, you want to make sure you map that to the promotion station. All of the other mapping based on menu construct categories should be fairly straightforward for your locations. You know, obviously we're going to map the soup menu construct station to the soup station we have set up already. And again, walking through this, you have the ability, you can see there's a few soups that have the green shaded box, which means they're required. There's some we can't click on. So chicken noodle soup, we only have the option to remove it. We're going to run chicken noodle soup every day because, let's be honest, in February, who doesn't love a great cup of chicken noodle soup every day? Again, where you have the ability to click on the recipe with an underline like a link, again, you have the ability to swap those menu items out for any of these other 26 soups you'll find. So I think there's plenty of room to be flexible and meet your client and student needs with this menu. And the way this construct is set up, I think it'll really make a lot of things a lot easier for you guys. And again, with the mapping of the regional stations, you want to make sure that you utilize those to really grab the stations that may not have been accounted for in your construct. The last thing I want to call your attention to when we start talking about brunch and limited dinner, you're only going to see brunch and limited dinner. You're only going to see recipes pop up on Saturdays and Sundays. If you remember back when we were looking at the service area settings, we only selected brunch and limited dinner for Saturday, Sunday. So we only see recipes on those days. As we move back to dinner, one more thing about the regional stations. They provide you guys 15 slots per meal period that come in blank. So again, you can use that to map a lot of different things within your dining halls. You know, kosher, sushi, any of those sort of things that you guys do. That's 30 empty slots per meal period. Once you go through for all 4 weeks for each of the 5 meal periods, and you have everything that you wanted, and you complete all those steps and changes, and you apply them to all cycle weeks and all meal periods as appropriate. Again, don't move forward and click finalize until you've checked and verified all the changes and updates. The Wizard is really the best place to make all of these changes, so I really can't emphasize this enough. Please don't click finalize until you're absolutely sure about everything, and then you can click finalize. To finish the menu planning process, you'll need to jump over to, after the Wizard, you'll jump into the plan menu. Just as before, you're going to make any adjustments to recipe portion sizes for the menu. You're going to enter your initial forecast for the number of servings. There's going to be a new process to request non-construct recipes be added to a location's recipe file. Coming November 28th, a location can select any non-construct recipe in the recipe module of PrimaWeb and click a link to request the recipe become an approved location-specific recipe, or ALSR. There will be a minimal amount of information that a frontline manager or chef's going to have to type in as to why they're requesting this. And that request for approval will go to line of business or sector OpEx. Once approved, it's a fairly quick turnaround to when you'll be able to utilize that recipe at any station in your dining hall. So we're going to jump back in. Absolutely, Kim, go ahead. For instance, in the menu, fried egg. In the plan menu, I wanted you to be able to move recipes from one station to another. So, for instance, we have a made-to-order fried egg that is in the menu at the omelet station. Well, some of you might not offer that at the omelet station. You might do that off your grill. So you'll be able to move that from omelet to grill in the plan menu. Once you put your menu into service, you cannot move recipes from one station to another. Heard about the changes in the system to PrimaWeb, and now we will hand it over to Stacy Gelman from the residential menu team to discuss the updates to the residential menu.
Thanks, Steve. Working together and incorporating feedback from our operating teams, the Spring 2017 Fresh Food Company menu has new recipes, updated standards, new holiday and theme events, and a variety of updated operating tools. Specific enhancements to this menu release include the continued focus on innovative and on-trend simplified master recipes and a key ingredient list, alignment to our health and wellness targets, integration of the MTO pick lists and the recipe sorter, and new theme and holiday events. You can find additional information about each of these enhancements in the Fresh Food Company Executional Guidebook, which will be on the Channel Growth website. Now that you've seen the menu overview, it's time to discuss the implementation tools and resources. By now, you should be very familiar with the Executional Guidebook, as it has been a staple over the past several years for menu planning. With the introduction of Master the Menu Phase 2, the Fresh Food Company Executional Guidebook has significantly changed from past years to reflect all of the new planning processes in place. This guidebook is a support tool designed to guide all locations to successfully implement the menu. It includes standards and execution expectations for the implementation of the menu. As mentioned, the guidebook is available on the Channel Growth webpage. As you know, Master the Menu has standardized the key ingredients and recipes based on the residential menu. With a shift to Phase 2 of Master the Menu, there is still a continued focus on the key ingredient list as a tool to enable you to order the right ingredients for your recipes at your Sysco OpCo. A new tool with this menu release is the Menu Construct and Station Detail document. This menu is built into a menu construct consisting of required and optional stations and menu items, carefully selected based on consumer and field insights. This tool is designed to assist you as you begin to plan your menu. The document outlines how the stations are broken out within the construct and details the items and flexibility within each station. Within the menu, there are alternative recipe lists that are filtered to show you appropriate replacement items through the use of a drop-down menu. This is now where the integration of the MTO pick list and the recipe sorter falls into place. Those two documents, while they were separate in the past, they are now integrated into the drop-down list, so it's much easier for navigation and to find what you're looking for. Locations should use the Fresh Food Company construct and station detail and the guidebook to manage the required and optional items within each station and plan for necessary area configuration modifications and how to appropriately map stations from the new construct. We've heard in the past that build diagrams are very useful to the front line, and we will continue to provide them with each menu release. As you know, the build diagrams provide a step-by-step visual and assist you in training your associates in the execution of portioning and assembly of menu items to provide a consistent product each and every time. In addition to the build diagram updates, we have also updated the planograms to reflect the new MM2 standards. The planograms are a great tool to use when planning your station. The following chart showcases the full suite of promotional programs offered within the Fresh Food Company menu. There are updated taste promotions this semester, as well as an enhanced holiday menus to support your theme and holiday menu planning. All residential locations are expected to execute the appropriate programs as outlined in this chart. Required materials and resources will be provided via Action Monday and posted to the Channel Growth webpage. Now I'm going to hand it back over to Steve to talk a little bit about the implementation of the menu.
Thanks, Stacy. Just as with Phase 1, the success of Phase 2 of Master the Menu depends on your support and willingness to adopt and use the enhanced system as designed. As we've said before, we've built in a lot of flexibility for you guys to really support your student population and your clients' needs and wants. To support you in doing that, the toolkit for Phase 2 includes an implementation checklist, additional and updated job aids and reference materials available on the Master the Menu page on aramark.net. And we're going to have office hours supported by the GOE and the culinary development team every Tuesday and Thursday, beginning the week of November 21st all the way through January 20th to help answer any questions, help solve problems, or provide guidance around the initial setup and use as needed. The schedule is available on the Master the Menu webpage, and that's where also a lot of the tools, including the implementation checklist and job aids, will be held as well. In order to complete the implementation of Phase 2 effectively, we encourage you to review the implementation checklist available on the Master the Menu page to understand the process and remind you of the information we went over today. Review the tools available, including the job aids and the executional guidebook. Attend office hours when you have questions or feel unsure about the changes and what you need to do. Please utilize this resource. It's really a great time. If you have a question, you can ask it and jump off. There'll be plenty of other questions, and someone may ask a question that you just haven't gotten to yet. So it's really a great resource for you. You don't need to guess if you're unsure, as we can identify the correct resources and materials to aid you in your menu planning. This concludes the planned portion of the webinar today. We have a significant amount of time, as promised, for Q&A. If you want to ask a question, please put it in the chat box so we can capture it. I I am going to stop the recording here at this point, but I do want to thank you all for your attendance and attention. And again, we're here for as long as you guys need us for the next 20 or 30 minutes to answer any questions you guys have. So please don't hesitate to put them in the chat box. I'm going to stop the recording now.